A match is struck, close to the microphone, the flare of light, and a thin ribbon of smoke that carries a story. We measure time by the length of the smoke.
Hello and welcome to Ancient Echoes KH. I'm Samnang Bradley, storyteller, guide, and your companion through small, sound-rich places in Cambodia. Today, incense. From powdered bark and warmed resin to coils that curl in morning light, I'll take you into workshops, markets, and the quiet of temple courtyards to meet the people who shape scent and memory. Quiet stones, loud stories. Let's walk the smoke together.
From the context standpoint, incense in Cambodia is both domestic and sacred. Makers use resins like frankincense or dragon's blood, woods and barks for base notes, and a range of binder herbs to shape burn rate and scent. Historically, scent marked ritual time, morning offerings, funerals, house altars, and it traveled on trade routes as much as ideas did. A quick note before we begin. Some recipes and sacred blends belong to temples or families. Today we'll honor those boundaries. No proprietary formulas, no step-by-step sourcing of protected woods. We'll also talk about sustainable alternatives and how to buy ethically. Full references and vetted resources are in the show notes.
My first stop is a sun-dimpled yard on the edge of a village. There's a low roof to keep the afternoons cool, a single grinder hum, and a wooden table dusted with cinnamon brown powder. The maker sits cross-legged, hands moving like a familiar prayer. He starts with a little joke about the weather, then shows me the sieve he uses, an old piece of net stretched taut, sifting bark into a fine snow.
When I was young, the temple elder taught me, smell holds memory. I learned to watch the smoke, how it moves when people are calm, how it flares when they pray with longing. My recipe is in my hands, not in words.
He says it with quiet pride, then gestures to a bundle of twigs and a small pot where resin warms until it softens. Watching him, you notice that every motion is apprenticeship. How he measures with his fingertips, not a spoon. How he laughs softly when the grinder gets noisy. He will not give me the exact blend. He explains that some mixes are offerings meant to remain with the temple or family. He invites me to smell instead. I hold a small disc he presses between his palms. Close your eyes and imagine. Warm resin, a wood smoke base, and something green, lemongrass or kaffir leaf, fleeting across the top. It is immediate and domestic, a scent that says, someone prepared the house this morning.
That domestic note is important. In Khmer life, incense isn't only for big ceremonies. It's woven into daily offerings, rice, flowers, and a stick of incense before breakfast. The material choices reflect what's locally available and culturally appropriate.
A few kilometers away, I meet a young entrepreneur, a woman experimenting with sustainably sourced aromatics. Her workshop is tidy, full of labeled jars and a small lab notebook. She's trying combinations that honor tradition but also work for urban markets. Incense tones that burn cleanly in apartments. Coils that don't smoke too thickly in small shops.
We learned from elders, but our markets are different. People in the city want gentler smoke, different packaging. We source smallholder-grown materials and work with forest community cooperatives. It takes patience. Tradition and market demand don't always match, but it's a way to keep the craft alive.
She shows me labels that list only safe, permitted ingredients and a little card about community co-ops. She says consumers ask for agar wood because of its legend and price, but she steers them towards alternatives and certification programs. There is humor in how she rolls her eyes at the myths, but earnestness in how she trains apprentices to value sustainable sourcing. At the temple, a monk explains scent's role in ritual timing. He won't speak the secret blends, Those are the temple's heart, but he offers a thought on how incense shapes presence. He lights a stick during an ordination morning. The smoke draws the eyes upward and marks the beginning of a ritual hour.
Incense helps the mind come to attention. We do not worship smoke. The smoke is a teacher. It reminds people to stop their busy minds, to set an intention. The formulas belong to the practice. The practice belongs to the people.
As the monk speaks, you can almost hear the courtyard. Soft footfall, a distant rooster, the thin patter of incense ash. These are the small sounds that make ritual lived and that we try to preserve in field recordings without intruding.
Now imagine a layered soundscape. The grinder hums. A vendor calls prices across a market. A monk's chant threads through. And somewhere, a coil of smoke unrolls into morning air. That's our next moment. Soundscape Interlude. Listen to the place where making, market, and monastery meet. Grinder, calls, chant, and slow smoke.
From a conservation perspective, the real pressure is on high-value woods like wild agarwood. When demand spikes, illegal harvesting follows. We work with communities on certification, sustainable cultivation, and substitution, encouraging resinous species that can be grown rather than plucked from fragile wild stands. The layers matter here: economic livelihoods, cultural practice, and ecological health. Supporting community cooperatives and asking vendors how materials were sourced helps. If a seller won't explain, respectfully, they may be protecting anonymity, or there may be a problem. Either way, it's okay to walk away or ask for written sourcing information.
And a practical point: we won't describe extraction techniques or sites that would risk harm. Instead, look for third-party certifications, community-led projects, and transparent supply chains. Pay fairly. Small makers often earn very little for skilled labor.
So, how can you be a responsible listener and visitor? Quick tips, short and usable. First, ask permission before recording or photographing a workshop or temple practice. Second, buy directly from makers when you can, and ask about sourcing, gently. Third, avoid requesting agarwood or rare woods unless the seller documents legal, sustainable provenance. And finally, offer fair payment and a thank you note. Small economies of smell depend on respect.
Also, when you're in a temple, follow local guidance on offerings. Do not encourage staging rituals for photos. Let practice be practice. Observe, learn, and if you're invited to participate, accept with humility and the consent of hosts.
Before we close, I want to return to something the elder maker said. Smell holds memory. Passing through workshops and temple courtyards, you see that scent ties together family, faith, and a way of making. An incense coil is a small economy, a lesson, a lineage, and it breathes with ordinary life. Cooking fires, market mornings, a child's laughter, interwoven with ritual and remembrance.
If you enjoyed this path through scent and craft, you can help keep these stories alive. Subscribe to Ancient Echoes KH. Find the show notes for resources on sustainable suppliers and community groups, and share the episode with someone who loves sound-rich stories. Quiet stones, loud stories. Thank you for walking the temples with me.
And one last practical note. Our show notes include links to conservation programs, recommended makers who participate in community cooperatives, and a short glossary of aroma terms used in the episode. Check the episode page for those links and full credits.
I'm Sam Nong Bradley. Walk the temples with me next week as we listen for other small stories. Apsara steps, market songs, and the makers who keep tradition alive. Subscribe to Ancient Echoes KH and leave a review if this episode brought you into a place you love.